Everything happens for a reason. There are paths and connections we take that lead us to our destiny. Good and bad things that happen to people that build their path in life. Not everyone understands the course of events, but the few that do are incredible. Two best friends in a bar having a great time were involved in a violent shooting, both shot to death, leaving behind their wives and children. For years, their families were not allowed to talk about the deaths. Their family bond fell apart after that night. But without even knowing it, it brought the families together more than ever. The two men that were murdered that night were my grandfathers. My father at the time, a 7-year-old boy, infant, the man of the house, in charge of 4 sisters and a mother. My mother, 3 months old, was the youngest of 3 sisters. No clue of the hardship she would face after these tragic deaths. Little did she know that my father was going to be there for her through everything. My grandparents have known each other all their lives. They were both from the same place and worked together all their lives. They were inseparable. My mother's father, who was 10 years younger than my father's father, looked up to him. They both worked hard and lived a decent life. The death of my grandparents changed the lives of both families. My mother's mother was widowed at age 21 with no support of my grandpa's family. She came from a very poor family, so because of that, once her husband died, his family turned their back on her. My father's mother had lots of support from her husband's family, but because she had 5 children, she was forced to put everyone to work to help each other out. Both families worked to survive in the fields. Innocent childhood bonds began with my mother and father. They became close friends at a young age and never wanted to leave each other's side. My mother was only 15 years old. She fell deeply in love with him. When my mother turned 18, they got married. My grandmother was against the marriage. She thought it was going to affect the families, but my parents did not mind. As years passed, they fell in love and promised to be together forever. The love and bond of my families never broke. My grandmother managed to live the fact that they loved each other, and now to this day looks at my father like her own son. To this day, my parents have been married for 35 years. They have always been in each other's lives. After my grandfather's death, the power of friendship was passed on to their children. 58 years later, the death of my dad's mother, passed the same exact day that her husband and her dear friend had died. What makes this more powerful is that day she and my grandfather's passed was on her birthday. She died loving her husband. I believe in destiny. Things happen that are unavoidable. Events occur that work themselves out. Families were together in the past, fell apart, then came back together stronger than ever. I believe in fate. This unique love was for certain to happen. I believe there's a reason why my father at the age of 7 was walking to meet his dad early in the morning on November 17, 1958. And he was reaching his destination, he heard a faint cry in one of the neighborhood houses. He walked in and he saw my mom's mother and said, "You have another baby? What did you have?" My grandmother gently showed her to him and said, "Another girl." He stared at her and then carried on to meet his father. Who would have thought that 2 months later, those 2 innocent children would be fatherless and would be then connected forever? Destiny is my only answer.
Que ilumina mis espacios de luz.